President of South Africa, Cyril Ramaphosa, has responded furiously to the DS arrogant request. Hello, I am Mahlet, your host at Connect Africa, bringing you the latest from the continent. Now, this letter came from the president of South Africa and also who is the president of ANC party, is a response for DS request of additional 2 ministerial position more than for what it is allowed for. I'm going to go ahead and read this letter for you, and if possible also try to explain in between. Now, President Cyril Ramaphosa, he has really kind of penned a strong worded letter to the DS leader, who is John Steenhuisen, which is alleging that Steenhuisen has shifted negotiation terms with the ANC party and proposed the establishment of an unlawful parallel government outside constitutional boundaries. Now, the DA letter earlier was written from Helen Zille, and now there are negotiations for a government of national unity, but this has been stalled, or it has faced challenges, and still the final result could not come out, which is appointing these cabinet members of the seventh administration of South Africa. Now let us go ahead and read this letter, and then we can get the sense of it. It was written on 25th of June from Cyril Ramaphosa to, as you can see, it says, Honorable John Steenhuisen, Federal Leader, Democratic Alliance. It starts by saying, Dear John, excuse me. Thank you for the meeting we had yesterday. I thought we had a very good constructive discussion. Following the recent change of letters between the DA and the ANC, I indicated to you that I did not believe it is appropriate to negotiate through correspondence. The important agreement that the parties to the statement of intent to form a government of national unity are trying to put together. So here he is opposing, to discuss this via correspondence, and instead Ramaphosa is proposing a face-to-face. Now it continues. Matters of national importance such as this are best conducted in face-to-face negotiations, and only when both sides agree that the discussions between them have reached a level of maturity and advance should they be reduced to writing, to live up to the principle of transparency. Ramaphosa continues, I informed you that the habit of negotiating through correspondence as adopted by the DA can be problematic. It can, for example, make parties play to the gallery of public opinion through media leakage, resulting in the loss of focus on the real substance of the negotiations. I also informed you that we found the letter from your federal chairperson offensive, that's Helen Zille's, condescending and inconsistent with the Constitution. Notwithstanding all this, I believed that the parties to the statement of intent were close to an agreement, and that through it we would usher in a new era in the politics of our country. I genuinely believe that this will be the era that will consolidate stability and enable us to address the challenges our country faces, which are inequality, unemployment, and poverty. To date, our discussion with DA, PA, IFP, GOOD, PAC, UDM, Al-Jama, Freedom Front Plus, and Rise Mizansi. All these are the parties who have signed to the GNU, Government of National Unity. Now, to date, our discussion to all these parties have been geared towards building and consolidating the government of national unity in the national interest. In the national interest, the discussions with all 10 parties to the statement of intent have served to entrench an appropriate for the Constitution and its values, as well as an understanding of the rules and protocols that facilitate effective and lawful government. Unfortunately, this has not been the case with the DA. In its recent proposals, I believe the DA has jeopardized the foundation of setting up a government of national unity by moving the goalposts in your later 24th of June 2024 to May. I'm truly taken aback by how you now want two more portfolios to bring the DS portfolio to 8. Let me just make it clear. Now, first of all, so there is DA is trying to change the rule of the game to that is so shifting the goalposts, as they say, from something different from what they have agreed. And again, their allocation of cabinet ministers is 6. Now DA wants to make it 8. This is like surpassing all the rules to what are being constituted. Now, Ramaphosa continues, you have said that you would like new portfolios to be allocated to the DA out of the options of sport, art and culture, agriculture, rural development, and land reform or public service and administration. Now, these are what have been allocated to them. They're still very important positions, and I must say, okay, Ramaphosa continues, you go on to say that you are certain the assigning 2 additional portfolios to the DA, which would take your quantum and cabinet from 6 to 8, would satisfy clause 16 of the statement of intent by better reflecting the will of the people as expressed in the electoral outcomes, while also taking into account the national interest. I regard your approach in moving the goalposts as a continuation of what was articulated in your federal chair's letter of 22nd of June 2024 on issues such as sealed mandates of ministries, through which the DA seemed to want to set up a parallel government. Very important. The DA seemed to want to set up a parallel government that would operate outside the framework and parameters of the constitution-based method and protocols of running the government of the Republic of South Africa. Mind you, 2 things we have picked: shifting the goalposts, creating a parallel government. Now, Ramaphosa is not finished. He continues, I also prefer not to deal further with the legally incompetent proposals to unilaterally redetermine contractual arrangements of directors, general, and other contracts. I did inform you that I felt we should not dwell on the misguided proportions contained in that letter, as paying attention to the contents of that letter would divert us from the task at hand of constituting a government of national unity. In seeking to justify your changing position, you refer to the terms set out in the statement of intent. The principles agreed to amongst all 10 parties to the statement of intent are, in my view, clear. Clause 16 of The statement of intent makes plain that the government of national unity shall be constituted in a manner that reflects genuine inclusiveness of all the political parties that are party to the statement of intent and are represented in the National Assembly, broadly taking into account my emphasis, Ramaphosa says, the number of seats parties have in the National Assembly and the need to advance the national interest. Now, the clause further provides the president shall, in constituting the executive, take into account the electoral outcomes. These commitments are set out in full appreciation of the president retaining discretion to constitute the cabinet, a prerogative I believe I have duly and sufficiently tempered to fulfill the commitment of the statement of intent. Furthermore, the constitutional requirement that the cabinet work as a collective under the president's leadership is reflected in a focus of national interest, consensus on the above principles, inclusivity, and accountability. It's not respected if we divert our focus from national interest and broad will of South Africans to the strictness of numerical representation. The latest proposals by the DA do not, I'm afraid, align with the principles adopted and encapsulated in the statement of intent. The way they have been submitted undermines the process we had committed to following open, grounded, consistent, constitutionally compliant engagements, honoring the collective understanding of our goal to create a government that reflects the will of the people. We are unable to accede to the DS latest proposal, nor its continuously changing interpretation of the meaning of the statement of intent and moving the goalposts. So for their behavior also. Any discussions with the DA must therefore start with a need for an understanding of the principles embraced by all the parties to the statement of intent. I am sure that you are aware the DA is not the only party we are negotiating with on the setting up of the government of national unity. Following my meeting with you yesterday, we have continued our negotiations with other parties that wish to be part of the GNU. As the ANC is leading the process of these negotiations, we have had to consider the proposals from other parties, and therefore, what we discussed yesterday stands to be reconsidered, as you made clear to me that, in quotation, you would not be able to get less than the number of portfolios the DA desired over the line with your FedEx. Oh my God. I must advise that we are continuing to hold discussions with other parties over the portfolios they could occupy as we seek to finalize the agreement to the GNU. I need to advise that the task of setting up government is quite urgent as we cannot continue with this paralysis. I intend to conclude all negotiations and consultations this week. Until then, I remain open to having further discussions with you. Best regards, Cyril Ramaphosa. President, African National Congress, and the later ends. Wow. You know what we say in my country, in Amharic, there is a saying, thieves, uh, they agree when they thief, but they fight when they start to divide uh, what they have stolen amongst themselves. Okay, now this is what's happening. They have really stole the vote of the South African people, and now they are dividing and they are creating this chaos over positions in which the DA is arrogant. Thank God that it is, unfolding itself, revealing itself before even the government is established. Now, what will be the answer or the response again from the John Steenhausen? We don't know. So far, it has been, some 8-9 hours since this letter is leaked. But this will be something that we will follow closely and brings to you as it develops, because this is definitely in development now. Yeah, what it's obvious these two parties are totally that can not reconcile. They have totally different interests, different goal, whether in internal politics or whether governing the South African people or in their foreign policy, totally that cannot reconcile. Despite that, ANC went ahead and formed this government of national unity. By now, as you can see, it's still on air with DA. And this is what you get. Will the DA totally pull out from this? And as they are saying, create a parallel government. They have nerves, I'm telling you. These people, they have really, there's something backing them up for them to say this. Isn't it enough for DA to be part of the coalition or this government of national unity? Now you come and dictate, actually very arrogant, what ministerial position you want. I mean, what kind of thing is that? No honor among thieves. Exactly. Yeah, I'm sure each language must have this one way or the other. It kind of expresses this whole thing. My mother would say that Greta would say that conspirators will turn on each other as their plans fall apart. Ayo of 5D, hello, welcome. I'm glad to hear he is still considering partnering with other parties. Maybe there is still hope for SA after all. I really hope that he, that DA pulls out, or, something will go, and then he will hopefully approach AFF and MK, and they can work together. That's something I look forward. Black people in South Africa who may be baffled by their bull stuff will not be able to deny a list of bad face moves receipts. I agree. This is going to be a pattern, a bad face list is in order with them. You have to keep a paper trail, so to speak. With luck and a great deal of hubris, this coalition will collapse before it gets off the ground. That's what I'm hoping. Antandalema, hello, welcome. Cabinet positions. I can't believe they didn't sort this out before they announced this terrible coalition. Yeah, that's it. He has been postponing and postponing because of these internal so-called negotiations are going on. Anyway, we will, hello, thank you, Teresa Adams. You are welcome. It's my pleasure. It's a duty for me. A lot is going on in the continent, but I found this is really interesting and bring it to you. Yeah, we will continue. Thanks again for tuning in. Please go ahead and subscribe to the channel, give it a like, and share the video with others. If you want to help us more further, you can donate to our PayPal account. All of you who have been contributing, thank you again, for supporting us, for trusting us, for committing your time, engaging, commenting, asking. All that means a lot. It helps us to grow, to get stronger. Thanks again, and I will see you on the next one. Bye bye.